the shores of old Lake Erie stands our alma mater true. Fredonia state we proudly honor, with its colors white and blue.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our podcast, Reflections of Fredonia. Let me first introduce myself. I am Jack Croxton, a former faculty member here at the college in the Department of Psychology. I taught here for over 40 years. Well, once I retired, I began to think about what do I want to do now? And it got me thinking about all of the wonderful students I had a chance to interact with during my tenure here at Fredonia. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice to maybe get in touch with some of those students and have them talk a little bit about what they've been doing since they graduated, also to talk a little bit about their undergraduate careers here, and to share any advice that they might have about what new students might want to do when they come to Fredonia. We're operating from the Fredonia radio systems, the student-run radio station right here on campus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe Kowalik. I graduated from Fredonia in May of 2024, and while I was a student, I double majored in journalism and psychology, and I had minors in English and political science, and I'm going back to Fredonia in fall 2025 for grad school.
For today's podcast, we have a very special guest. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself by telling us your name and when you graduated from Fredonia.
My name is Bonnie Bowen, and I graduated here in 1991 at the ripe old age of 44. I started college at 40, and I was so glad to end up at Fredonia.
What did you study while you were here as a student?
Mostly psychology, some sociology. I tried out a couple of things like philosophy that I really didn't care for. I had one math class, which was all I was required to take, which is a good thing for me, but mostly psychology.
Okay. Do any particular professors stand out from when you were here?
They all stand out. It was, I was a work-study student also in the psychology department, and I had you, Dr. Croxton, and I had Dr. Wiest, and I can't even remember some of the names at my great advanced age. Dr. Gleva, Dr. Slaughter. They were all wonderful. I can't think of one that I didn't like.
Great.
It was great fun here.
Great. Now, when you started, did you know right then, I want to become a psychologist?
When I started, I wanted to become a counselor. And after I got going in counseling, I realized that I could not do that. Instead, what I became was a crisis counselor in an emergency room, which meant that I evaluated people in an emergency room situation for drugs, alcohol. They even threw in dementia patients, although that wasn't where I was supposed to be. But I would evaluate them and then make sure they got to the proper treatment, whether it was inpatient or outpatient. But I felt that if I had to see the same patients week after week, that wouldn't be good.
Okay.
Interesting.
Sure.
Where are you originally from, and how did you end up here?
I was born and raised, I tell people I'm from LA, Lackawanna.
Oh, yes.
And I married in Buffalo. My husband worked for the power company, and we moved all over just in Western New York. And just by dumb luck, we ended up here when the marriage broke up. So it was very fortuitous. My children my youngest was 14 at the time. She was in high school. The other two were in college. So it was, during my college career, we were all in college, and we were all in different fields. So we had wonderful conversations.
That's actually really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was so much here for me, having been a married mom, to be in help service, which I did for several years, which was a call-in, for those of you who don't know, was a call-in crisis line. And I even helped with Dr. Rywick's research
Okay.
project there for a while. So
Mhm.
I was exposed to many, many things here. And I'm just going to say that I went on to another school after this for my master's degree, and I did not like it.
Okay. I wondered, did you have any trepidations coming to school as a non-traditional student?
Oh my God. The first day of class, I was like outside the door of the classroom, and I was like, do I go in and sit down? Do I stay here until the professor comes? I did not know
Oh.
what to do.
Yeah.
And I managed. I tried not to be, as my children told me, don't be that person that asks a question when the bell rings. So I tried not to be that person. But yes, many trepidations.
Oh, okay. So any like specific memories or experiences or events that kind of stand out for you while you were going to Fredonia?
Well, not being a traditional student, I wasn't out at the bars and that kind of thing.
Right.
I had a child at home,
Uh-huh.
so wasn't those kind of events. And I really wasn't involved in the social life on campus so much. But we did have a group of non-traditional students, and they are still my friends.
Oh.
I still am in touch with them,
Uh-huh.
even in our advanced age.
Great.
And we would meet in the counseling center. We would meet like once a week and talk about what we were experiencing. And then, of course, we would meet off campus as well. So that stands out. Help service really stands out. That was an eye opener for me. Like I say, the mom. I'd been married and raising children for 23 years. So it was an eye opener, the crisis calls that came in. So.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Now that you're retired,
Yes.
we know that you worked as a crisis counselor. Can you tell us a little bit about what your career was like?
Well, when I heard about the job, I was in my last year of my master's program, and someone told me about the job, and I said, oh my gosh, that sounds perfect. And I was so worried that I would be in competition with younger people that I was like, oh my God, can I get this job? Can I get this job? And I found out later that nobody wanted the job. And I did. And I did that often. Well, I left for 2 years to work with therapeutic foster care, but I did that job for almost 20 years. It involved patients who weren't very nice. I was only struck once, and I was very surprised because the young man had told me I was more beautiful than raisins just before he struck me. And
dear.
Yeah.
yes, well, experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But the doctors in the emergency room, they really didn't want to deal with these patients. So I was their advocate as well as their evaluator. So
Mhm.
that was an experience too, dealing with doctors.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wondered, was it tough to not bring some of that stuff home with you after a hard day dealing with some extremely stressful situations?
People ask me that. That was the big question. How do you go home and forget about it? And I just must be that kind of person that I mostly didn't take it home. Every now and then there was one that would get to me, a child maybe.
Oh.
But no, I had my gardens at home. On the way home, it was a 25-mile drive. And when I started the drive, I would think, I'm going to open a bottle of wine. And then by the time I got home, it was like, I'm going to have a cup of tea. I'm going to change my clothes and get in the garden. So the gardens were my therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find that the types of crises changed at all over the course of your career? Or were they all kind of pretty much the same types of crises over the years?
They were mostly mental health, but a healthy dose of alcoholics and drug abuse, and then a few dementias thrown in. But from what I understand from my colleagues who are still there, when I was there, to have 4 patients in a day was a busy day. And my one colleague told me he came in the morning and there were 13 patients
Wow.
waiting
Oh,
for
my.
him. And an evaluation takes 2.5 hours. So that would have been a very stressful day.
Yeah.
So that's the change, is that I don't know whether resources are more limited now, that people automatically do go to emergency rooms, whether they really need to or not, but it seems worse than it was when I
Right.
was there.
Mhm.
So by the time when you retired, was like the fentanyl crisis in existence at all at that point, or was it other kinds of drugs that
It was just
people
beginning.
were coming in?
It was just beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I can think of a couple of cases, but mostly it was, your run of the mill, a lot of alcoholics
Oh,
more than drugs.
uh-huh.
Takes longer to sober them up.
Right. And so your job was to kind of deal with the immediate crisis, and then they would be referred
Yes.
to somebody else
Yes.
for the more long-term counseling.
Yes. I did have one superpower that if I got a call that someone was in danger, I could send the police to get them.
Mm.
I could order the police to bring them to the emergency room. I tried not to use that one, but I had to many times. And then people can be admitted to the mental health unit against their will, which doesn't make them happy either.
Sure.
I
Wow.
didn't get a lot of thank yous.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Do you feel that your time at Fredonia helped shape your career when you eventually went into the crisis counseling?
Sure.
Yeah.
She said tongue in cheek, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've always been a capable person. People ask why I went into social work, and I always told them that, well, I have 3 children and none of them are in jail, so I must be doing something right.
That's right.
So my capabilities changed here. I was given responsibilities and enjoyed them.
Mhm.
And then just observing traditional students was an eye-opener to me as
Uh-huh.
well. So,
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, so many were here that because their parents were making them be here and they really didn't have any interest in what they were doing. And then there were the ones that really knew what they wanted.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what a world. What a
Yeah.
world.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know it.
Yeah, so outside of your time in school, we also saw that you mentioned that you ran the Chautauqua Hiking Club for a few years. So
Yeah,
tell us a little bit
yeah.
about that.
That was fun. Right now, it's a very small group that they meet like on Saturdays, but we were so busy and involved that we had like a hike going on Saturday, a hike going on Sunday. We would have 40 people show up. I've hiked every trail in Western New York and part of Pennsylvania, the Allegheny National Forest. Beautiful trails. People should get out more. And we would hike and camp, and it was just a great bunch of people. That's why I always tell people, if you want to meet people, go to some place like that, or the contra dancing here in Fredonia on First Fridays.
Mhm.
Those are the people, those were my people. So that's how I got to meet all the cool people. And hiking is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure how good I would be at contra dancing. I basically have 2 left feet,
Yeah.
so I think I'd be stepping on some toes.
It would be excused.
Yes, there you go.
So I guess in retirement, have you kept up with doing stuff, or what have you been doing in retirement?
Well, the first 2 years, I just sort of blinked and looked around and thought, I don't have to go to work. But after that, I knew I needed to do something. So I started volunteering at the Humane Society in Jamestown, at
Oh.
Audubon, and at hospice.
Oh,
And very different volunteer
Mhm.
things, but all of them were great. In fact, I've just been away from Audubon now for a month, so it was good.
yep. I was telling you before, when I decided to volunteer at the Humane Society, I was just afraid I'd fall in love with some of
Yes.
the dogs and
Mhm.
want to bring them home. And Mary said that's not happening. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, but it is fun being around the dogs.
Didn't you
Yeah.
have an English sheepdog back in the day?
Yeah, you remember that.
I remember that dog,
Yeah,
yes.
named Madison.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah, now we've ended up with 3 dogs because we have our own dog, Wilson, and then my son and daughter live in the area. They both work. They have dogs. So guess who gets to dog sit during the day?
Grand dogs.
Yeah, you got grand dogs.
So we have 3 dogs that we
Aw.
end up walking every day, but they're fun
Yeah,
Keep you going.
for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah.
Well, what advice would you offer to current Fredonia students from where you're at today?
Oh boy, my situation was so different. I would give them the mother stuff, like study hard and don't go to those bars and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But kind of keep yourself open to experiences. For people coming out of high school, I don't even think they know what kind of jobs are out there. And I'm sure the job market is very, very different from when I was in college and when I came out of high school. So, be aware of what's around you.
Mm-hmm. For
Yeah,
sure.
I like that. That's good
Yeah.
advice.
For sure. So I think we're about ready to wrap up our interview, but any other thoughts come to mind to you before we wrap things up?
Thoughts of Fredonia?
Yeah.
The stairs of Fredonia are epic. And
Yes.
if you run into a student that went to Fredonia and you mention the stairs, they know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
I used to have, I have music in my head. Usually I'm not a music person, but I do have music in my head. And when I was on campus, it was always John Philip Sousa marches, because if you took the stairs rapidly in a John Sousa march, it went better.
Well, you said when you came back to visit the campus, it looks
Oh.
different now, or you
I
had a little
came
trouble
back-
navigating it?
I came back with one of my fellow students and we couldn't find anything,
Aw.
or you couldn't get there from here with the construction
Yeah.
and stuff. So it was different,
For sure.
Right.
but
yeah.
still here.
Yes.
Because we had that elevated walkway for a long
Yeah,
time.
that was
gone
before.
by the time you
Yep.
came, right?
Yeah. I started in 2020, so it was gone by then. But I did hear about it. I saw a lot of pictures and it seems really cool. But
It was, and it was like it gave you the direction you were standing in, because
yes.
I lived just off campus from there
Oh, okay.
on Temple Street.
Mhm.
So
Although I do remember on rainy days walking under it, you'd see some dripping
yes, you
coming
had to
down.
watch where
You
you
had to watch. Yep, watch the dripping.
That's cool.
Yes. Well, this has really been great, Bonnie. I'm so happy to see you again
Oh,
and
happy
chat
to
with
see
you. And it's been a fun interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we can pretty much wrap things up for today. So I am Jack Croxton.
And I'm Chloe Kwolek, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
Sing its glory and its praises. Let them ring forever true. Beloved is our alma mater, Fredonia State.